It's been 4 years since Jerry Falwell resigned from Liberty University amid a hailstorm of controversy. He's remained pretty quiet about it all until now.
That's right. I asked Falwell for a one-on-one interview with me, and he's finally talking about his truth. Only on ABC 13, we pull back the curtain on Falwell's faith now that the dust has settled. Jerry Falwell knew early on he didn't want to follow in his father's footsteps behind the pulpit.
Because we anticipated this by faith.
Everybody just assumed I was going to become pastor following his footsteps. And I was determined that I was going to be a lawyer, and I just didn't like people thinking they knew what I was going to end up doing.
The last day before he passed, we rode up on the mountain, and he was so thrilled to see Liberty students in the gazebo.
Before his death, Jerry Falwell Sr. groomed his sons, the lawyer and pastor, to lead both of his legacies. You know, there were two very clear roads for you and for Jonathan. Jonathan taking over Thomas Road, and you taking over the university. What were your feelings at that time about taking over as president?
I was hoping Dad would live to be 93 instead of 73, and because I loved what I was doing before, developing real estate, doing all the legal work for the university in the background, sort of being behind the scenes.
The university collected $34 million in life insurance when Falwell passed away, leaving Liberty completely debt-free. With that parting gift, Falwell worked to make sure his father's dream of turning Liberty into the evangelical version of Notre Dame came true.
I think he'd be 1,000% thrilled with what's happened to Liberty since he died.
For 13 years, the Liberty flames burned bright under Falwell. The campus grew. Student enrollment topped 15,500 students by 2020. Athletics gained notoriety nationwide. Falwell built an empire with LU Online, growing it from 27,000 students to over 110,000.
Please welcome to Liberty University, Stephen Curry.
Big names flocked to Convocation to speak to students. Liberty was on fire.
We are at a crossroads where our first priority must be saving our nation. We must unite behind Donald Trump and Mike Pence.
But Falwell's endorsement of Donald Trump for president had many questioning his values.
It hurts the gospel of Jesus Christ when we associate it with any specific politician, but especially someone who's actively opposing what we believe in.
You are our leader, whether you wanted to be in the evangelical community. If Jerry Falwell says this guy's okay, we should forgive sins.
Well, my father got the same response when he supported Ronald Reagan, because Ronald Reagan was a movie star, had been married twice. And so a lot of people thought that was terrible. And so my father said, I used the same line my father used 40 years before. I said, we're not electing a Sunday school teacher here. We're trying to elect somebody to run the country.
Thanks in part to Falwell's support, Donald Trump became president in 2016.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
But during Trump's re-election campaign in 2020, Falwell's political flame was snuffed by a series of events. The face mask that Falwell commissioned of Governor Ralph Northam in blackface prompted a Change.org petition demanding he step down.
A pattern of these same type of comments, these same type of things that are done by President Falwell that kind of show a pattern in his character.
Then a picture of Falwell with his pants unbuttoned next to his wife's young assistant, holding what appears to be alcohol, further fueled calls for his resignation.
I made the mistake later of putting it up on Instagram.
Were you drinking at that time too?
It was a tough time, and I was self-medicating some to deal with it.
And I think people criticized you also because you were the head of the Christian university that had you can't drink rules, and you were
they
drinking.
couldn't understand the difference between the rules for students and resident students. Even online students don't have those rules. They couldn't understand the difference between the rules for resident students because they're young. Most of them are under 21 anyway. And so if you got a group of people living together most of them are under 21, you don't want the ones that are 21 or older, being or drinking and causing them to get arrested.
Then finally,
Jerry's line.
The stunning news of an affair between Becky Falwell and Giancarlo Granda.
It was like the perfect storm.
Do you feel like at that time that you strayed from Liberty's mission of, making champions of Christ?
Oh, we never did. No, all the faculty always had to sign a doctrinal statement. And they're all born-again Christians and all affirm the school's doctrines and beliefs, and that's what makes it a Christian university, all the convocations and worship and all that.
About that time, you said, I was never called to be a pastor. Some of us are called to be preachers, and that wasn't mine. I was called to make LU the greatest Christian university in the world, and I couldn't have done that as a preacher.
That's right. You can't be a good preacher and a good business person, I don't believe, because you have to be tuned into, you know, people and ministering to people and helping people, and sometimes you have to fire people.
In August of 2020, Liberty's Board of Trustees forced Falwell to resign.
Oh, boys, come on.
Ever since, he's largely remained quiet due to pending litigation with LU. At a time when his faith was tested, Falwell says he found faith in the community.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire!
I just can't believe how warmly I was treated by local folks and 99% of the Liberty community, even when they weren't so sure that some of these things weren't true. Yeah.
Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I mean, this just shows what great folks they are.
Do you and Jonathan have a relationship?
Yeah, Jonathan, I've always
Because
gotten
everyone's
along.
always pitted you guys against each other.
Well, the people who pitted us against each other were people who were trying to divide and conquer.
I just encourage you, and I ask you, selfishly, not only as a pastor, but selfishly as a brother, that you would pray for him as he leads us in the days ahead.
The rumors that we didn't get along all came from them. Our family stayed in Jonathan's football box a couple weeks ago, and it was, it's just never been a problem. But there's people who benefited from the world thinking that we didn't get along.
So, do you go to church now?
Yeah. I have one of the old friends I mentioned who I hadn't really been able to stay in touch with. He has a biker church. He was a motorcycle rider, wore the leather, all that stuff, and he had a church that he conducted services in a bar for all these bikers, these big rough-looking guys with leather jackets, and he decided to go online with it.
And the surrounding countryside had been converted. They came to believe that Jesus was the Messiah.
So every Sunday we've been listening to his sermons online. We hadn't been over to Thomas Road in a while just because we were banned from Liberty, and I was really waiting until everybody knew the truth about what happened. And so, yeah, there's no reason why we wouldn't go back.
So what's next for Jerry Falwell? Hey, you still talk to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
If he becomes president and asks you to join it on his cabinet or be a part of his presidency, is that something that you're open to?
It's possible.
Now, given the results of the election this week, you do not want to miss more of the answer that he gives me tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. I also spoke to Falwell about his past and what he's doing now. You can find those interviews at WSET.com. And there's exclusive content from our interview that you'll only find on our ABC 13 WSET YouTube page. You can scan the code right there and watch it now.